Welcome to the Revere Veterans and Community Show. Today we have two special guests. They are both veterans from the Vietnam War. John Webster, who's a veteran and an artist, as well as Bruce Dobson on my left over there, who's a veteran of the Vietnam War. John brought in a paraphernalia of Vietnamese things, and he will explain them to you. So John, be my guest.
Thank you. Over the years, I've had an exhibit called The Other Side of the Wall, and when the Vietnam Wall, traveling wall, has come to different communities, I've been fortunate enough to be invited and to bring along a lot of these different photographs and material that I have. Some of it started off as my own personal photographs from Vietnam, and over time other Vietnam veterans would come up to me and they were kind enough to share their photographs and material with me, and from that it has all grown. And when I heard that the moving wall was coming to Revere, through Nick Boa, the veterans agent, he was kind enough to allow me to be a part of it.
By the way, you also have a beautiful painting right behind you that you yourself done. Could you elaborate on it? It's called Ever Vigilant.
Yes, that's a charcoal drawing that I did. It emulates that stare that you have to be always vigilant in watching the perimeter or wherever you're assigned to. So that's just one of the few that I have. And I also have a helicopter that's probably one of the most iconic photographs of the Vietnam War. Almost everything you see is always has the helicopters related to it, and they're absolutely amazing.
Very good, John. And Bruce, I believe you have a book there. It's about the Vietnam War. Would you just show them that and explain them while you were there what you did?
Well, this is a book that Morris gave me when I came in, and it's a day-by-day of the Vietnam War. And I was over there in 1966 with the 1882nd Comm Squadron at Phan Rang Air Force Base. And my job at that time was in communications, and that was pretty important in the sense that we had to have the planes get in the air to protect the Marines and the Army guys that were out in the field. And when you say communications, that includes the telecommunications, the telephone service, that includes the control tower, which will bring the flights in and out of the base. That includes the microwave towers, the shortwave, teletype. So the communications squadron was pretty important over there because our main job was to protect the Marines and the Army that was out in the field, and you know, that's what I did over there. And but we also did a lot of good stuff over there. Not that that wasn't good, but we visited a lot of orphanages over there, and we went to see the kids, and we would bring them clothes and food, whatever we could scrounge up to bring to them to try to make their life a little bit better. And it was, in one sense, doing that, it made the job over there a little bit easier because we were helping somebody else. But as hopefully everybody knows, Morris told me to wear my T-shirt today. These T-shirts that Morris has on and I have on are being sold by the Healing Wall Committee. So if you'd like to get one, they have the names of the Vietnam veterans that lived in Revere. The names are on the back of it.
And how much are these?
They're $15. If you can find anybody in the Healing Wall Committee, we can get you one, or if you get a hold of Morris at the Senior Center, I'm sure he can get you one. And if you'd like, the Healing Wall is coming on August...
No, June.
June, I'm sorry.
13, 14, 15, and 16.
That's right. But they're going to bring the truck in on the 11th. And it's going to be escorted from the motel where the couple is staying. And we'd like to have all the children from Revere come down on the 11th. I don't know what time it's going to be yet on the 11th of June. But we have access to 1,000 flags, and what would be nice is the two fire trucks, aerial fire trucks, are going to be down there, and they're going to have the large stars and stripes hanging down there as the truck comes in with the Healing Wall on it. And what we'd like to see is as many school children as we can down there, and like I say, we have 1,000 flags, and it would be nice to see all the youngsters and their families down there to bring the veterans in there. The other thing is the opening ceremonies will be on the 13th.
Right, 13 at 5:30.
13th at 5 o'clock.
Yep.
And closing ceremonies will be on Sunday the 16th. So it'll be open 24 hours a day from the 13th to the 16th. So we'll hope everybody will be down there. And that's all I got right now.
Right. The only thing I would like to say, Bruce, is a little history on the Vietnam, if I may. That I did not know that, but the Vietnam War started in 1945. I was under the impression it was 1955, but that's when the United States got involved. But in 1945 to 55, it was the French who were defeated at the end.
Ben Phu.
Ben Phu, right. And then the United States got involved under, I believe, President Eisenhower.
Under the Eisenhower administration.
Right. Can you elaborate more on that than I can?
Well, I don't. Well, quite often the Vietnam War is related to the Kennedy administration,
right.
when in fact it was during the Eisenhower administration,
right.
Because as most people know, that the French were there for 20 years before the United States. But it was under the Eisenhower administration that we first got involved with some advisors going over there, and then it escalated from there. Like Bruce, I was in the United States Air Force. I served with the 3rd Security Police at Benoit Air Base, and then from there I went up to the 633rd. But I also got to know Bruce over the years because he's been instrumental at a lot of these Vietnam moving walls and giving his time and energy and being there almost every single night and making sure that you know, out of respect for the wall and answering questions and stuff. So it's nice to be a part of it. I'm going to be away out of the state, but I'm fortunate enough to be able to bring some of the pictures and paintings and things that I have. So I'm really, really thankful to the city of Revere, and I'm really hoping, like Bruce says, that people come out, and especially given what has happened in Boston yesterday, for people to come out and realize the sacrifice that was made by this community as well as many other communities in preserving our freedoms that we have. Sometimes, unfortunately, something like as tragic as yesterday gives us a little bit of a wake-up call and makes us realize just what a fantastic country we live in.
Right. Before we continue, John, I would like to say thank you for your service. I know it's a little late doing it, but thank you, because you didn't get it when you came home, but we're giving it to you now. And on behalf of the residents of Revere, you too, Bruce. Thank you for your service, sir. John, you have some more terrific photographs. Please.
Yeah, this next one that you're going to see was my first visit to the wall. I was fortunate enough to go down with a very close friend of mine who was a Marine from Medford, Mass. Tony Astuccio, and Tony and I walked the wall together. And to see it for the first time was absolutely amazing. I've been fortunate enough to see the moving wall on numerous occasions, but to go down and see the actual wall was incredible. And in the middle of that particular display of pictures, there was a motorcycle that was brought down from the state of Wisconsin. And it was all, you'd have to see the motorcycle to believe it. And the license plate said Hero on it, so it was really, really something to see.
Okay, now we have another painting going up.
Well,
Photograph.
This next one that you see is a series of photographs that was taken in 1967, 68 during the Tet Offensive at Benoit Air Base. In it, up in the left-hand corner, weapons that were captured from the Viet Cong that were Chinese-made. Down below that were the rockets that were 122 rockets that were Russian-made. And on the far right, in the middle, was one of our, the Viet Cong that we had captured. And several of the other photographs in there show the destruction of the 122s and mortars that were fired in on us. The next photograph that you're going to see is a photograph of the State Vietnam Veterans Memorial that's located in Worcester. And that was dedicated in 2002, and I would encourage people who have not had an opportunity to go down to Worcester, and it's at Green Hill Park, and there you'll find all the names of the men and women who were killed in the Vietnam War at the Worcester Veterans Memorial.
Now we have another photograph coming up.
Again, this is another helicopter. It's a little bit on the darker side, but you can see the all of the helicopters had kind of like bunkers, surrounded by bunkers filled with sandbags, and they're just incredible. One of the most amazing sights to see in Vietnam is to see a squadron of those choppers leaving the base.
Another photograph.
Another one, another chopper. They just God bless those pilots. They're absolutely amazing individuals. And then again, this is another one. They were coming and going all the time.
Bruce, before John continues, would you like to say something about the veterans that we did at the Beachmont VFW? When we had the son, when he was sitting there?
Oh, we had a spaghetti, meatball spaghetti dinner a couple of weeks ago on a Sunday, and we raised about $3,000 towards towards the healing wall that's coming. But we could also use more donations. It's going to take a lot of money to prepare it and have what we really want for the Vietnam veterans. There's 58,282 Vietnam veterans that died on that wall, that have their names on that wall. But there's also something else that they have down in Washington, is the memory plaque. The memory plaque is for Vietnam veterans who come home, and after their service in Vietnam, they may have passed away from complications of the Vietnam War. And that could include the biggest thing that's going on right now, excuse me, is complications from Agent Orange. There's a lot of our brothers that are dying from ischemic heart disease, from CLL leukemia like I have. There's a lot of things going on with Vietnam veterans now. We're in the late 60s time bracket, and a lot of us are passing away at an alarming rate. And what they have is, if a Vietnam veteran comes home and dies from causes related to the war, obviously they can't have their names put on the wall because they didn't die during combat. But when they came home, there is a plaque down in Washington called the memory plaque, and you can find that information on the Memorial Wall website. And a family can nominate one of their members who passed away, say from complications from Agent Orange. And you fill out the application, and I believe they have a reading of the names for the past year of families that filled out the application. And you could go down to Washington for the ceremony. And I believe it's on Flag Day every year. So it's something to think about. I asked Nick, the VSO here in Revere, if anybody had ever applied for that, and he said no. And I'm sure there's plenty of Vietnam veterans in Revere that probably are eligible to have their names read down in Washington. So that's something to consider. You can get more information from that at the Vietnam Wall if you come and see me or one of the other Vietnam veterans. Most Vietnam veterans know about that plaque down there. So that's something to think about.
John, getting back to you.
Wow.
There's another beautiful photograph. Could you explain that for us?
This one was given to me of an officer, helicopter pilot, who was receiving the Bronze Star. I should actually get in touch with the family that gave it to me to make sure I put his name on the back so that when people look at it, they know what they're looking at.
Here we have another photograph.
Yeah, and that's the fellow that did receive the Bronze Star. And unfortunately for him, he's in very poor health, and he's in a VA hospital at present.
Now we have another one, John.
This next photograph that you're going to see, the moving wall was in UMass Boston a number of years ago. And while the display was there, this fella came up to me and he gave me a cigar box, and it had 250 slides in it, all of the Mekong Delta. And I asked him if he wanted me to have them made and give them the slides back to him, and he said, no, he said, I kind of like what I see here, and I want you to have them, but what I want you to do is when you show these and you're displaying them around, make sure that you mention the Brown River Navy. And I didn't know what the heck he was talking about because I was in the Air Force, and it had to do with the sediment of the river and the color brown, and that's my understanding. I don't know, Bruce, if that's what you heard, but the Brown River Navy, so therefore the Brown River Navy. Because the one thing you do when you put these displays up is you try to make certain that you mention every branch of the service, because we're all a cog in the wheel, whether you're in the Air Force, the Navy, the Marines, the Army, and even the Coast Guard. So we try to incorporate all of them. And again, this is another photograph of just how hard they worked. And also, I might mention the fact that there were many from the Navy who served off the shore, they weren't on the Mekong Delta, but they were off of out there in the China Sea, and they also brought a lot of support.
Here's another photograph.
Yeah. And the other amazing thing about Vietnam was that even in the time of war, people went about their lives, and so there was a lot of activity going on. The village people were subjected to both us coming through and as well as the Viet Cong at night. So it's always amazing to me how they had to survive all of that.
Here we have another photograph, John.
Yeah, another almost forgotten people were the nurses. Thousands of women served as nurses, and not only nurses. I should also mention that there were other capacities that women served. But I've always considered the women somewhat the forgotten veterans, because they've never gone after their benefits the way that the male counterparts have, yet their role in the military is more than commendable.
Before we continue with the photographs, I have to tell you, you talk about the woman. There's a woman in Revere, her name is Eileen Murillo, and she's trying to get a monument made for the women's veterans of World War II. I know it has nothing to do with Vietnam, because there was no honorary for the women. I mean, eventually, I'm sure they'll have women that were honored during the Vietnam War, Korean War, World War II, and all the wars.
Well, they should, because a lot of people are totally unaware of, like, all of our male pilots were off fighting in the war, and they were the ones who were the test pilots and doing all of the flying back and forth. And yeah, so their role was just like amazing, amazing women, as well as the ones that worked in the factories. So.
That's right. They had a name for them. What did they call them?
Rosie the River.
Rosie the River, right. There you go, John. There's another nice photograph.
This here is one of my favorite paintings that I've done of Vietnam. I use what they call a limited palette, just 3 different colors, but I call it the Vietnam Hero, because back during Vietnam, we didn't bring the canines that patrolled the perimeter back home. They were euthanized. They were never brought back home to the States, and yet they saved thousands of lives, because their job primarily was to alert the handler of any movement that was out there, and the handler would pop the flare and then pull back. And yet, I call them the real Vietnam heroes.
We're only showing a micro of what you really got. There's a nice one.
This one here is called Tears for My Brothers. It's a Vietnam veteran at the wall with his buckskin jacket and thinking and reflecting of his brothers that he lost in the Vietnam War. And it's...
By the way, John, I got to thank some of the people over at the Beachmont VFW who are not here. One of them that helped organize that nice dinner where you brought all this nice stuff was Greg Marcello, and Nick Board, the administrator, Ira Novoselsky, and Al Terminello, who are part of the Veterans Committee, and they do all this work for us.
They were all super people. Like Bruce said, the event was really, really nice. Our hope, I'm speaking a little bit for people I haven't even really met yet, but I know from just the few that I met at that dinner that there's amazing people on this committee, and if you come and see it, you'll be amazed. It's,
I tell you, when I walked in, John, and saw your display, like I say, this is only a little micro of it. I said to myself, we've got to put that on the TV show, and I'm glad you come down and you can elaborate on that
appreciate it.
one.
Well, this one here is a painting. It's called Their Spirit Lives, and it's my tribute to the POWs and the MIAs. And I purposely used earth tone colors, and the hands coming out of the ground. And the right hand is the POW, and the left hand is the MIA, signifying their sacrifice. In the middle of that, you can see their spirit. And there was a Vietnam friend of mine that I met at the New England Shelter for Homeless Veterans, and he recreated that painting in stained glass, and it was absolutely incredible. It hung for several years at the PTSD group at the New England Shelter, and unfortunately he passed away. He was a great, great guy, incredible artist. Sadly, he never overcame his demons, and I really wish that I could have been able to take that stained glass creation that he had and give it to the family, but unfortunately I don't know who has it and where it's at, but I would love to.
It's a beautiful shot.
I would love to have given it to the family.
Right. What I would like you to do is, you are going out to Washington, I believe, California?
Well, I'm going to California. I'll be there for the month of June, but I'm going down to Washington Mother's Day weekend.
Right.
And my hope is to do some photography down there of the Vietnam Wall and get them to Bruce or to somebody in the committee before I go to California, so that they also can be part of this.
That's good. So what I would like to say, while we still have time, is we're going to be reading off the names of the 12 Vietnam veterans that got killed from Revere, and they will be on the screen, and you people will see them. Bruce, before we close out, please take a few minutes and say a few words for us.
Well, as a Vietnam veteran and a member of the Vietnam Veterans of America down in Lynn, if there's any Vietnam veterans that are out there and they're having, for instance, heart attacks, you know, that's part of Agent Orange if it's associated with ischemic heart disease. And there's a lot of ailments that are out there that are presumptive, that if you had one day, one boot on the ground in Vietnam, you're eligible for Vietnam disabilities. So even though it happened 45 years ago, you know, please get a hold of your VSO and talk to him and see what he can do for you. Because of a lot of our brothers don't take advantage of that, because they figured, well, that happened, you know, I'm having the heart attack, for instance, 45 years after I was over in Vietnam. And the point is that you are covered. So, I mean, if you're eligible for benefits, please go and get them. I knew one of the names that was on the names that Morris was talking about was the Revere Vietnam Memorial that's in front of the Legion building. And one of the names on there is Alan O'Brien. And Alan O'Brien graduated from Immaculate in 1960. And I graduated in '62. And I found out a short time ago that Alan was probably about 3 or 4 miles, his base camp was 3 or 4 miles away from Phan Rang Air Force Base where I was. And he was with the 101st Airborne. And Alan was a forward air controller, I believe. And he was up on Hill 86. And it got overrun by the Viet Cong and the North Vietnamese. If I had known at the time that he was that close to me, I would have gone and tried to have seen him. But Alan's name is on the wall. He's the only casualty from Immaculate, and he was a couple of years ahead of me. And you know, this is an emotional time, I'm sure, for John and me, when the healing walls or the moving walls come to the different cities, and we go and we talk to Vietnam veterans. And to be honest with you, a lot of the Vietnam veterans that are going to come to the wall, the healing wall that's going to be down the VFW in Beachmont, a lot of the Vietnam veterans are going to come at night. They're going to come after midnight when nobody's around. And that's because they have a lot of things that they're thinking about. Most of the families, grandchildren will be there during the day, but the Vietnam veterans, most of them show up at night. And that's why for security reasons, we need people there at night to make sure that nothing happens to the wall. But we also need Vietnam veterans to be there to counsel and help our brothers when they do show up. It's a very emotional time for every Vietnam veteran, because as Morris reiterated at the beginning of the program, you know, we weren't treated too nicely when we came home.
That's for
And
sure.
we're getting more recognition now. And as John said about what happened at the finish line at the marathon yesterday in Boston, you know, when we went over to Vietnam, we went there because we were told by our government that we wanted to stop the domino effect of the countries over in Southeast Asia, and we took them for their word. And I know that I volunteered to go over there and to go in the service. And I just hope that we do the right thing. And now the problem is the terrorist war is coming to the United States. So, you know, we have to have constant vigilance. But again, if any veteran out there is having problems, please come and see your VSO or see the VFW or the Vietnam Veterans of America down in Lynn, or any of the veterans organizations here in Revere. Please come and talk to somebody. I'm sure we can help you. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
And
Morris.
John, could you please talk about where you're heading out in the future with your, you know, with your paraphernalia, and also what you did in the Vietnam War?
Well, I was in the, as I mentioned, the 3rd Security Police, and then I was with the 633rd. Years ago, I had my collection of photographs, and I said to myself that I needed to do something with it. And being fortunate enough to do veterans work for 16 years,
Wow.
that gave me an opportunity to get out there and to show it. And I have a number of other exhibits that I travel around. But as Bruce mentioned, the most important thing is that we reach out to the veterans. The nicest thing about the Vietnam veterans is that our mantra has always been that we will never, one generation of veterans will never forget another. And so we're there to help and assist, especially those young men and women who will be coming back from Afghanistan.
And people, if they want to get a hold of you, how would they do that?
Well, I'm retired now, but I live in Malden. I'm going to be hooking up with Bruce and getting involved with the Vietnam veterans out of Lynn. So I'll be around. I do a lot of the military things, but I'm also trying to venture out into do some other traditional art. But the veterans part of it will always be a part of me, and I thank the city of Revere for the opportunity to share it with you. I wish I could be there that weekend, but I'll be there in spirit. As Bruce said, it's pretty emotional.
Right. Can you
Pretty
just tell me one thing personally? I saw some beautiful painting, beautiful drawings. What didn't we see that you have that we might eventually see in the future? I know, but please do.
Well, there's one painting I'm hoping that I have it in me and that I make it available, and I'll kind of let it be a surprise.
Beautiful.
So,
Okay, John, I want to thank you for coming. I
Thank
want to
you.
thank you, Bruce, for coming.
Thank you, Morris.
May God bless our troops. May God bless the United States of America, the people of Revere. And before we close, we're going to be reading the names off again of the veterans from Revere that got killed. And then on June 13, 14, 15, and 16, which will be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the Vietnam Wall will be at 150 Bennington Street at the Beachmont VFW. Please come down and join us all, and thank you all for your time. And may God bless both of you.
thank you.